The Shark Part 3, Final Ending, all other parts down below. I think today has the possibility of being a very long day. My friend that works with Jim and my wife got into an argument with Jim today in the break room at work. Jim was talking to one of the girls that my wife has surrounded herself with. He was mentioning my wife's birthday coming up and how he had something special for her but didn't know if he should buy her a cake or bake one. At this point, my friend spoke up and said, "Jim, you know, I've been civil for the most part, but you're a jerk and disrespectful for even considering talking about this when I'm around when you know her husband is one of my best friends." At this point, Jim began defending his actions, saying that he did nothing wrong. My friend pointed out to him that he knows what kinds of conversations they were having online well before my wife left. Jim said, "Well, I tried to call him to talk about it, but he didn't answer." This was back at the beginning of August. At that point, there was no good way for me to confront him. My adrenaline is indeed going. I'm sure I'll get a nasty email from my wife when she gets off of work about how I should tell my friends to stay out of it and whatnot. Or maybe I won't. Jim mentioned to my friend that after I didn't answer, he told my wife to call me and tell me it was over. I almost wonder if he is making her feel trapped. Like I said, I could see the hurt in her eyes when we met for her to get me divorce papers. She didn't seem to want a divorce at all. Maybe she hasn't come back because she sees no good way to end things with Jim when she feels she is in too deep. The way my friend described it, it almost seems he is controlling her to a point. This may not be the best way to do it, but this is the response I really want to send her right now. Wife, I've tried to stay mostly passive to this point, but at the same time, I can't be a doormat. When Jim is blatantly bragging at work about his next attempt to please you right in front of the face of my friends, it's pretty disrespectful. This doesn't even account for the people he goes around bragging about how good it feels that he can get any girl he wants, even the married ones. Or how exhilarating it is to know you're sleeping with another man's wife. To your face, he may treat you very well, but behind your back, you're obviously just another object to him with the way he talks. He should really be more careful about whom he brags to. Remember the story he told you about how he got in an argument with his girlfriend and made her get out of the car in the middle of nowhere and walk, throwing her stuff out of the car. He tells everyone that story because it's something he is obviously proud of. If that's where you're headed, that's your choice. Just know that I can't support the decision. Then he tells Joe that if we are such good friends, we should 69 each other because you're his now. It's a real picture of maturity. I guess it's no different than the way he told you everything you wanted to hear during your Facebook chat so that you would fall for him. The way he told you things like how he considered you his physical equal was just disturbing. I'm all for encouragement, but at that time, you couldn't hardly walk because you were hurting so bad from your arthritis. It was pretty obvious what he was trying to do. The entire time it was going on, I knew what was happening, yet kept my mouth shut. I would ask you questions I already knew the answer to and was lied to time after time. One of the biggest was when you were doing the painting for his birthday. Everything was in plain sight in that bedroom and you still lied to me, saying you didn't know what you were painting yet, despite having a file wide open on your computer screen with quotes about feelings and falling for him. You continually said you needed alone time, which actually translated to you wanted time to sit and talk to him online. You got to where your entire life became a secret. You started sitting in the recliner in the corner with your computer turned so I couldn't see what was being said. You started keeping your phone close at all times, and even got up at 4 a.m. in the middle of the night once, turned on the shower water. But it never splashed. You had taken your phone into the bathroom. There was also the night right before our anniversary when you ended up not going kayaking. I found out after the fact that kayaking was out of the plans at least 2 or 3 hours before you left the house that night. Despite it all, I kept my mouth shut for the most part. Why? Well, because I love you and didn't want to fight. Anytime I did voice my concerns over what was developing, I was made to feel like I was paranoid and delusional. The resulting stress and anxiety from this quite literally felt like it would be the end of me. This is why I continued to watch things. I had to convince myself that I was not crazy and that it was really happening. You keep saying people should stay out of it, but the truth is, these people are acting on their own behalf. I can't control the actions of many. If they don't support what is happening, I'm sorry, but I can't make anyone do anything or not do anything. Truthfully, it isn't as if this is all easy for me when Jim and your best friend's husband are going around telling people that I abused you. It took me weeks to get up the courage to even tell you I knew what was going on, much less lay a harmful hand on you. You and I both know I could never physically hurt you, and it's really hard to have people going around saying I did. My parents have done nothing but love you. I understand they may have upset you, but this hurts them too. The decision you are making does not only affect yourself and me. The fact is my parents are losing a daughter and my brother is losing a sister. My parents truly treat you as part of the family, and they have all cried many tears for what is happening because they miss you like crazy. You have an entire support group of friends that you used to consider your best friends that would love to reconnect with you. Yet you have pushed them away because they don't support what you're doing. It doesn't mean they don't love you. I may not have been the perfect husband, but I've always loved you. I took a vow with you, a covenant, to love you until death. I intend to honor that for as long as I can. This is not just some throwaway relationship to me. You are my wife, the woman God put into my life to love and cherish. And I take that very seriously. With everything being said, I love you and care for you. I haven't been a perfect husband, but I have loved you. I'm really sorry for the ways in which I let you down, but just know that I have never been more prepared to be the loving and biblical husband that God has called me to be and would love to rebuild a loving and caring marriage with you. I love you. End of email. Excellent. It's sent. I actually stood up for myself for once. Even if it makes her mad, I respected myself enough to stand up for myself. Overall, it was a pretty good weekend. Spent some time with my cousin and his wife, and we basically cooked good food all weekends. My wife's birthday is coming up this Friday. Is it just me, or does it seem a lot of wayward spouses' birthdays are occurring around the same time? All kidding aside, I'm trying to plan how exactly I will acknowledge her birthday. If at all. Knowing her, she will be showered with plenty of praise that day from Jim, her friends, and people at work. So I'm not sure simply not acknowledging it will have any desired result as far as consequences go. On the other hand, I don't want to be overbearing. I want to find a middle ground, if you will. During my lunch break today, I went into my wife's place of employment to pick up the next season of a show I'm watching. I noticed my wife's car wasn't there, so felt it was safe to go in. What I didn't notice is that Jim's car was there. As I turned a corner to go into one of the DVD aisles, he was coming around the same corner from the other direction. I'm pretty sure Jim almost wet himself. He turned around and walked away. When I went up from to check out, he sat on a stool glaring at me, I guess because he felt safe sitting behind all of my wife's friends that were working up front today. It took everything I had not to say something to him, but I held back and just acted as if he didn't exist. I received a message on Facebook from a college classmate my wife and I both had classes with. I've known her since high school. She said she went to wish my wife a happy birthday and noticed that my wife and I are no longer Facebook friends. I let her in on what is going on, and she was very sympathetic. She mentioned that a year ago, she had an affair on her husband with a co-worker and they were literally days from finalizing the divorce and decided not to go through with it. She said their relationship is now better than she ever could have imagined because she got the courage to end the affair. She mentioned that the fact that he still loves her after such a huge mistake really helped her see that it was worth saving. She just sent me a follow-up message asking if I would like her to try to get in contact with my wife since she knows what my wife is going through and thinks her perspective will help my wife understand that things can always work out if you are willing to work on it. My wife doesn't know her that well, but I am considering giving the green light on this one. Well, she has been unable to get into contact with my wife to this point. It's rather difficult since I don't even have my wife's phone number. We'll see what happens. Last night was sort of tough. Like I said, I decided to hang out with my friend who was having his birthday get-together as well. I made myself somewhat of his personal babysitter. I didn't feel like drinking, so I went with him and got him around. We ended up stopping at his friend's house, who lives about a block away from my wife's mom, where my wife has been supposedly living. We were there until around 4 a.m., at which point I couldn't help myself. I checked to see if my wife's car was at her mom's. It was not. My worst fear is that she is at least staying with Jim and could possibly be living there full-time. Look to be confirmed. I could be wrong, but it would be the only other place I could think of for her to be. Well, the weekend has come and gone. It wasn't too bad, but I never got a response from her about her birthday card. I'll just put it in the mail. I feel pretty stepped on right now. While I have continued to make sure she has health coverage and take care of things like make sure her student loan consolidation is on the right track, she can't even respond to an email when I went out of my way to acknowledge her birthday. I'm not even upset, but it just reminds me how deep into the fog she is right now. She doesn't even know which way is up. I actually gave the issue a thought earlier. While I no longer make the loan payments, I just made sure everything was squared away. My battle has been on the health insurance. I realize that by doing so, I would be merely letting her see the consequences. But at the same time, I'm not sure I could forgive myself for her not being able to get her health issues taken care of. I know this has all been her decision, but I guess I still feel as if I have to make sure her health is fine. As much as she has done, I guess I'm not quite at the point where I would be willing to see her physically suffer because I want the affair to end. It's a really difficult decision for me because truthfully, I would still give myself up for her, even after all the hurt and pain. The thing is, with all the recent health care legislation, I am able to get back on my dad's health insurance policy through his job for another 2 years. Since my younger brother is already on it as a dependent, it quite literally costs him nothing more to add me back on there. And the coverage is better than what I have now anyways. The current policy is under my name, so if I go this route, I quite literally have no need for the close to $200 expense each month, about half of which is hers. If I take myself off the policy, it removes her completely as well. Honestly, I'm just tired of being walked on. Her and Jim sat in the break room together with my friend that works there again yesterday, both gloating purposely about how great their weekend had been. Just really disrespectful. She seems to become a more evil to the core person each and every day she's around him. As far as changing my strategy, I'm not really sure what other option I have or have ever had. As far as I can tell, she would have left in everything whether or not I followed the path I am on. Plus, if I hadn't taken this course, people that I call friends likely would have stopped talking to me since they work with her and would be believing her lies of abuse and whatnot that she threw out there in the beginning. She would still be enjoying the secretive backdrop while I would get all of the consequences. At least this way, I'm better off than I was 4 months ago. I feel very confident in saying that much. Just got an email from my wife. I need to take those papers to the court, so if you could mail or stick them in Mom's mailbox. There is a reason I didn't answer your email on my birthday. The only gift you could have possibly given me was my dog, so no, I don't want anything from you. Last I checked, she left, not me. The dog is at home where he should be and it isn't my problem she left if she wants him. I'm not signing this waiver of service either. The more I read on it, the more I see that I would quite literally be signing away all of my rights through the process. Part of me wants to ignore the email, but the other part wants to reply and say, if you want to talk, you have my number. Her blatant disrespect for anything going against adultery just continues to amaze me, even as she still denies that this is an affair at all. I'm still of the mindset that I honestly think she will start seeing things a little differently once the affair begins to fizzle out. Whether she starts acting different is another matter. Either way, I've got plenty of patience. Besides, I'm going to be at a game tomorrow to root on the Rangers with a friend. Funny thing is, this guy actually works under Jim and a few short feet away from my wife. Neither of them has any clue that he gives me a temperature reading on the affair almost daily. So, I'm about to finally respond to her since I've been busy this weekend. Any ideas on how I can subtly point out to her that she is expecting me to respond to her instantly while she actually acknowledged purposely ignoring me? I just thought that was really ridiculous. She's going to be really mad that I won't just sign this waiver. To be completely honest, I'm not entirely sure she even realizes what it is she gave me. Someone just told her I needed to sign it to make the process easier. Either that, or she has decided I'm stupid, which I know she wouldn't try to go with because she knows I've always had a tendency to analyze and overanalyze everything. How about this, wife? There is a reason I didn't answer your email about the papers. I am faithful and have no desire to agree to end the marriage. The only gift you could possibly give me is ending your adultery and coming home to me. So no, I don't intend to sign or leave papers in your mom's mailbox. I do not intend to sign away my rights to anything the way this form would have me do. I have been advised that it is not wise to sign away those rights, so I will respectfully decline to sign them away. Our dog is still part of his family, where he lives, and so is your husband. If you wish to have the pleasure of the dog, you are welcome to share a marital home with us. If you abandon the dog, that is your decision and one of the costs of choosing your affair. I have taken a lot of steps to work on being a better husband, but I cannot do it alone. I simply disagree with the idea that ending our marriage is the answer to our problems. I spent some time and effort preparing a birthday gift for you. Regardless of what you may think, you are still my wife. And I wouldn't be a very good husband to not acknowledge your birthday. Even with everything that has been going on, when you ignored me and then expected me to respond to your emails within hours, it made me feel very used. I'm sorry for my failures in the past as a husband. I am a much better person for being able to admit my faults and work toward improving on those things. I still believe in our marriage and what it stands for and know we can build a very loving and caring relationship. The first step would be ending your affair and coming back to the marriage so that we can work on it. I can't promise it would be easy, but I do know that there are plenty of people around us to love and support us, and there are many counselors available that can help us sort through our personal and marital issues. I still love you as much as the day I married you, if not more. While I do get upset at times, I have made the choice to continue to show you love and care as you are my wife, and I made a covenant with you and God that I intend to stand by. I love you. End of email. Of course, I've asked her and she turned me down. She's at a point where she doesn't want to hear anything that goes against her affair. It isn't due to a lack of trying on my part. I'm confused as to exactly how anyone is coaching me to be a doormat. In your earlier post, you say I should sit down with her to talk, yet then say I'm a doormat. What would you have me do? The macho attitude and tactic of beating my fists on my chest might work for some people, but it will never work for me. That isn't me at all, and I refuse to pretend as such. Marking my territory and acting like a fool will most definitely run my wife further away. And I feel comfortable saying I know that much about her. I'll at least keep the insurance through the end of the year, because that's when I'll be able to switch back over. It will also mark 6 months since she left home. At that point, she should be coming pretty close to an enrollment period with the insurance from her job. If by saying I am stubborn you are referring to me sticking to a plan, then yes, I am stubborn. If you mean continuing to stand by my marriage vows, then yes, I am stubborn. If doctors gave up the first time a formula for a new meds didn't work, then none of us would have the type of medication we do. Update: it was an interesting weekend. I can see myself being tested and tempted, and it's something I can tell I will be battling for a while. My family and I had a wedding to go to about 3 hours away for a longtime family friend. One of my best friends for many years was there since it was his twin sister getting married. In any case, a little while after the reception began, I sat down to catch up with my friend, and he introduced me to his sister's former roommate. Since neither of us were really into dancing, as my friend came and went from the dance floor, we conversed at the table for a couple of hours. It was possibly the most intriguing conversation I've had with anyone in at least 6 months. Not only was I interested in her, but she also seemed genuinely interested in me. While I didn't go as far as even exchanging contact info with her, afterward it hit me. I had, at least for a couple of hours, enjoyed the company of a female. And even though I didn't, I was tempted to ask to exchange contact info to keep in touch. Quite honestly, she had a lot of characteristics that reminded me of my wife back when she was sweet, carefree, and full of joy. I was also able to gather from our time spent in conversation that she is a very strong Christian. In any case, I just wanted to share. I'm not really sure how to handle these sorts of situations because I definitely don't want to get caught up in the exact same fog my wife is in right now. I guess you could say that my need for conversation that has been left empty by my wife during her absence was filled for at least a couple of hours. I recognize that this is exactly how affairs start and don't want to go down that road. Well, I think the time for Plan B is nearing. I may feel differently later today, but I will be actively drawing up a letter for the proper time. It's all hitting the fan and I'm quite honestly tired of it. My student loan consolidation has finally gone through and I need a simple signature from her in order for them to pull our tax return since we filed jointly. She is refusing to sign. Now her friends are spamming me on Facebook and email telling me how terrible I am, etc. My faith of any hope of reconciliation is dwindling, and I've reached a point where I'm not sure I want that path anymore. It's an awkward place to be. I will post my letter when I get it drafted, but in the meantime, I'll just continue to better myself and stay busy. I will not, however, be dating, because I don't believe that to be the correct course of action at this stage. After last night, I believe I'm going to skip Plan B and throw in the towel. I truly believe it is too far gone to be salvaged at this point. There are simply too many people supporting blatant adultery in this case for the true consequences to ever be felt. I received some more hate email from my wife last night about how she's glad people know because they're happy for them being together and it's made it so much easier for them, etc. If that wasn't bad enough, Jim's best friend contacted me saying, "We need to talk." He honestly tried to convince me that Jim isn't that bad of a guy and that the way I have handled things has made it worse. Yeah, sure, blatant adultery isn't the problem. The betrayed spouse shedding light on it is. Either way, it's pretty obvious that this is being supported by far too many people. I'm considering signing the papers she gave me if she will agree to getting me some of the possessions back first. I want the furniture back, the kitchenware, since I was always the one that cooked, and the washing machine. She took the washer but left me the dryer. Since the petition she filed includes no mention of possessions, I don't see where this could come back on me if we agree and sign something with a witness. If she truly wants this to be over, I feel like she will agree to this. A month later, my wife and I were emailing back and forth about job listings, which developed from a prior conversation about how I will be requiring surgery on my foot and needed to get the crutches from her. And out of nowhere, I get this message from her. I had an interview the other day, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm very sorry for everything. I'm still not over it at all. I don't know if I ever will get over it all, and if you think it hasn't hurt me, it has so much. I'm so angry with how it all turned out. We were supposed to be happy together for a very long time, and I guess life doesn't work how you want it to a lot of times. I miss your family very much even after everything. Sometimes you wish you could just rewind from the beginning and try just a little harder. I have a lot of guilt built up and I'm sorry for hurting you. I'm not sure. It really caught me off guard. While it seems she isn't speaking from a foggy point of view, it also doesn't exactly seem as if she's saying she's ready to come back home to the marriage. I'm not sure which way to proceed. She is looking for a new job because her current job requires her to be on her feet a lot. Her arthritis is making that difficult. With the holidays coming, she will be very busy and is worried since her joints are already flared up as it is. My response to her was short and to the point. I did tell her that her message caught me off guard, but that I appreciate it. I mentioned that while life doesn't have a rewind button, we always have opportunities to learn and grow. I told her to have a good night and that I hoped she got to feeling better. I actually somewhat counted on this being the end of that conversation. But then she sent me another one in the middle of the night. Good night, and I think about you a lot, hoping that you are doing better. I'm just really sorry that everything is this way. Hope you feel better too. While I'm under no illusions that her affair is over, I do believe she is conflicted and wishes there were an easy way to end it. I'm speculating, but if I had to guess, Knowing her, she doesn't want anyone else to get hurt and feels that she can't turn around and pull a 180 after the people she's surrounded herself with have so firmly supported her in the direction she's been headed. We'll see what happens. A few weeks later, my wife has been emailing me every couple of days asking how I'm doing, etc. Her grandmother had a stroke last week and will be in the hospital for another week and a half, at which point she will be placed in a nursing home. She wants my wife to move into her house, as my wife is definitely still living with her mother, who has fallen deeper and deeper into alcoholism. I went out to play pool last night with some friends. One of them informed me that my wife got a new job at the local community college as a financial aid advisor. She starts Monday. She will still be working part-time at her current job for the time being. Jim teaches a couple of computer classes at this community college, but she won't be working around him as much, and she is getting her foot out the door and more distance between her and the friends that are terrible influences on her. She will be off of her feet for the most part, which will help her rheumatoid arthritis a good bit. I think I am happy for this, but am still undecided. At this point, it is very clear from the tone in my wife's emails that she cares about me and is regretful at how everything has happened. She simply doesn't have anyone on her end to give her the push to take the leap of faith and commit to her marriage once again. I can see where she is hesitant to end things with Jim for fear of hurting someone else. Although my guess is, he will start flirting with someone new at work when she isn't there. So, a female friend I graduated high school with has been keeping up with my situation over the months, as her brother has been going through a similar situation. As it turns out, his wife worked with Jim and my wife, and his wife was getting into drugs and cheating on him. They are currently going through a divorce, as she has done things such as flat out walking him to him and punching him in the face when they met at the park so she could see her daughter. In any case, this morning, I get a text from my female friend, and she asks, since I know people at the place where my wife works, if I recognize a phone number. Her brother is going through old text logs and preparing the evidence for his attorney. The phone number was Jim's. He has been sending dirty texts to this other woman over the past few months. Also, it appears he may buy Soma, muscle relaxer, from her. He truly is playing every single person he can. I just wanted to share this. In one way, it made me grin knowing he will eventually show his true side, but in another, it sucks to know he is still playing my wife. I got an email early this morning from my wife stating that she misses me and my family and wishes things could have been different. I took it as an opportunity to reiterate to her that nothing is keep it from being different, because we always have an opportunity to learn from our past and be stronger. She told me she just wished I had been like this in our marriage. She also said the holidays just aren't going to be the same. I took this opportunity to put a feeler out and told her that she seemed stressed and that maybe getting out of town for a while would help. I offered to drive about 2 hours away to a restaurant we both love and just take an evening to have a good time. She replied that it sounded good, but she wasn't sure she could do it. She said that it's easier not seeing me. A few minutes later, she sent another unprompted reply saying, simply, okay, I want to go. What time? I went and picked her up. We left, and were gone for around 5 hours. I just got home. We didn't talk about our relationship at all. She had tears in her eyes when she first got into the car, but after a while, she started talking, smiling, and laughing much more. When I dropped her back off, she mentioned how she had a really good night and thanked me for taking her. I could tell she had a great time. It was very refreshing. I mentioned that I have a softball game on Monday and she should come watch us play. She seemed very receptive to it. We will see. It could be another opportunity. Today, when I went on lunch, I sent her an email to say, see, I told you I'm addicted to those spicy chicken sandwiches. I'm about to get one now. While I was at the walk-up window at Fried Chicken, guess who comes pulling up? That's right, my wife. We sat in the car and ate lunch together. She said she may come to the softball game tonight to cheer us on. Again, I'm under no illusion that things between her and Jim are completely over. I do know, however, that the closer we can get, the more they will drift apart. Since we haven't discussed any relationship issues recently, I'm going to hold off on that until it becomes apparent that a decision needs to be made by her one way or the other. She sees my positive side again and obviously likes what she sees. I will be sure to keep it up. She started her first full day at her new job this morning. She was very apprehensive about it. She's excited for the opportunity but scared at the same time because she has to learn a lot of new things. I gave her some encouragement and reminded her that it was her dedication that got her through college as well. I actually have started to notice some subtle changes. As I said, I'm fairly sure she has not finished with Jim. For example, when she showed up unannounced at lunch yesterday, my friend that works at her old job texted me saying that he was in the break room with Jim and that Jim was eating alone. Normally, my wife would take him lunch. She did not. As you may remember, all of our correspondence to this point has been via email. Since we both use smartphones, our email comes through on our phones instantly. Yesterday afternoon, she emailed and told me she felt like emailing was awkward and gave me her phone number, which she had changed months ago so I wouldn't have it. We began texting. and she went silent for a couple of hours. I'm fairly certain this was the time she was spending with Jim after he got off of work. I'm sure she doesn't want him knowing she is cheating on him with her husband. In any case, she began messaging again right around 9 p.m. Normally, she would spend a lot more time with him. Knowing her, she likely told him she was tired or had to help her mom with something. When she began drifting away from me near the beginning of the affair, she began looking for imperfections in me, reasons to be mad at me, if you will, now that all of our communication has been positive recently and we are even spending time together. I can see some of those same tendencies coming out. Except directed at Jim. Nothing is even close to guaranteed, but I'm definitely going to keep along this path. If nothing else, I've enjoyed the time talking and hanging out with my wife. She's still my favorite person to hang out with. My wife and I just met for lunch again. She was dressed in her work attire and looked really good. I told her this and she smiled and sort of blushed. I still wear my wedding ring, and I can tell my wife notices this. I oftentimes notice her looking down at my hand, almost as if she likes that I still wear it. By the time she had shown up to the restaurant, I had already ordered since I remembered exactly what she always ate there. She told me she was glad I remembered because she didn't even remember what it was she normally ate there. I told her that I had her office warming gift in my truck. She was needing to make a run by the bank to set up direct deposit for her new job before she had to be back from her lunch break. So we agreed that we would meet later, possibly this evening, so she could get it. She grinned when I mentioned this. The biggest thing at this point is that it's quite obvious we are both enjoying the other's company. She seems so much more like the wife I married than the one I watched drift away. I can see it in her face when she talks to me. Her tone of voice is so much different as well. It's laced with more emotion as opposed to indifference. I know I'm getting through to her. It's just a matter of when she finally feels comfortable enough to take the leap. Well, she bailed on dinner tonight. I received this text from her after I got out of work. I'm sorry I can't do this. I have too many emotions in my head. I'm really trying but don't think I can do it. I'm sorry, I just can't pretend like everything's okay because it's not. I just can't go back to all of that. Yes, I miss you and your family, but there is really too much ruined. I don't know if this is guilt or what, but it seems she's working on going back into shutdown mode. I received a text from my wife earlier. As many of you know, she backed off after spending some time with me. This is what she said. So, I have to have those divorce papers back, and can you write a statement that I served them to you and you disagree? That is proof that I gave them to you. I have to tell them that you refuse to sign them, and if you don't want it then you have to appear in court sometime later. I haven't heard from my wife since the day she mentioned the divorce papers again. I find it interesting she isn't pushing the issue more if that's what she really wants. I get the sense that she's being pressured quite a bit from Jim. Interesting time last night. One of my friends from when I worked at the same place, Best Buy. For those that haven't put it together, as I see no harm in mentioning the places, there are plenty of different locations. As my wife and Jim called last night and asked if I wanted to go catch the eclipse out by the lake, I agreed. When we got out there, quite a few of the Best Buy crew, past and present, were out there. Many of which are my friends, but specifically a couple that are friends of my wife. One of the friends has avoided me like the plague anytime we run into each other since everything came up. I just decided I was going to be the better person and say hi, congratulate her on getting her degree, etc. It turns out, she ended up being really friendly toward me. We ended up laughing, joking, etc. by the end of the night. All in all, I thought it was a positive interaction. Besides, I can't see any harm in my wife's friend thinking he's not such a bad guy. Now, why did I believe the stories I was told? Other than that, not much else is new. I do, however, feel like taking a vacation. It probably won't happen, but maybe I can get out of town for a few days sometime soon. Christmas was somewhat difficult for me, having been in a routine of visiting various people and carrying on various traditions with my wife. I was constantly reminded of those things. Overall, I think I handled it very well. I enjoyed time with my parents and brother. It was likely the first time my wife has visited with much of her family since the affair started. I find myself wondering exactly what her explanation might have been for why I wasn't there. She was still working weekends at Best Buy since she started her new job, but apparently quit last week. From what I can tell, she burned a lot of bridges with management there in the way she left. She didn't want to work last Monday and so she just didn't show up. When they called her, she just quit. This just further solidifies the point that she is a completely different person these days. The woman I married would have never just not shown up for work. She used to refuse to even call in sick, night and day. A few weeks later, a county constable showed up at the door last night to serve me with divorce papers. This guy showed up at 9:30 at night, and instead of ringing the doorbell or gently knocking, he beat on the door like someone who was going to be waiting with a gun on the other end. Not to mention that the entire time he was shining his flashlight through the window next to the door. Don't these guys have some sort of respectful guidelines to follow when showing up at places? Especially that late at night. In any case, it's the same exact paperwork she gave me back on September 21st, minus the bogus waiver of service. It says I have until 10 a.m. of the Monday following the 20th day of being served to file a response. I'm highly irritated by it all, so excuse me if I sound cynical. I sent my wife a message a couple of days ago asking if her health insurance on her new job had taken effect yet, even though I seem to remember her saying she had to wait 3 months. Since I'm back on my father's insurance, I don't need the policy anymore. She didn't even have the respect to respond to me, so I'm cutting it off today. It looks as if I need to be working on a Plan B letter. Even though she isn't in contact with me anyways, I intend to remind her of the situation. I ran into a couple on Monday that have been longtime friends. Apparently, they have moved back into town. They saw my wife and Jim in the mall together recently and wondered what was up. The female of this couple was telling me yesterday evening that she did the same exact thing to her husband, and it was only after she realized that even though people wanted her to be with the other man, she had to take a leap to go back to her husband. And while she lost many friends, she gained many more. She sent my wife an email yesterday evening giving her some perspective. It probably won't help, but it obviously can't hurt things at this point. A month later, overall, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. My main stresses in life at this point relate to my career and whatnot. I rarely think of my wife anymore. The time has come and passed for me to file a response. Since everything was pretty straightforward, I simply cut my losses and let it pass without a fight. Quite honestly, I was tired of fighting for something that was quite obvious would not be repaired until my wife, if ever, faces herself and chooses to improve her own life. With that being said, I do have some questions. The time will soon be coming, once I have a final decree in hand, where I will want to try dating. It's been so long since I've dated, but I'm still young. Something I've thought a lot about. How do you bring up the issue of having been married to a potential date? This is something I can definitely foresee myself struggling with. I want to be completely honest with people, but obviously, many people my age have not been married and carry a negative stigma about divorce. As I've learned more and more, any relationship, friend, date, girlfriend, spouse, is based on trust, honesty, and transparency. However, how do you gain interest before dropping that bomb on someone? Almost a month later, well, I checked the mail about 10 minutes ago. The final divorce decree was there. The marriage was dissolved as of yesterday. I'm surprisingly numb about it, really. I guess I just can't believe this is really how it all ends. Either way, I guess I must push forward. I received a letter in the mail from her. It was really odd. She basically apologized for the terrible situation we'd been through, etc. What seemed incredibly lame was that she went on to say that she knew she had to divorce me because she was holding me back from being the person I've become. She said she'd noticed the wonderful person I'd become. I find it interesting that, while she noticed the changes, she still can't admit even to herself that she cheated. To top it off, my friend saw her and Jim at the video store. She actually made the point to walk up to him, gave him an awkward side hug, and Jim went and hid. He kept peeking around the corner. About 4 months later. It's been a while. I just wanted to check in and throw a few things out there that have been going on. I've been enjoying the full swing of baseball season and whatnot. As far as my personal life goes, for those wondering if there is indeed life after divorce, there is. I have a date this upcoming week, the first since the divorce. It's someone I've actually known since I was 17. We've always seen each other around through the years and whatnot, and through mutual friends. She's very aware of the situation I've recently finished with. Speaking of, my ex-wife still can't deal with the hole she dug herself. My younger brother's girlfriend was registering for classes at the community college where my ex-wife is a financial aid coordinator. She was there with a friend, who saw my ex-wife and said, "Hey, isn't your boyfriend's last name X too?" My brother's girlfriend obviously knew who she was and said she seemed petrified. Apparently, she can't even admit to co-workers that not only did she cheat, but that she divorced me. The theme keeps coming up, but I'll say it again. It's really a shame how some people will continue with living their lives. Well, this is what I woke up to in my Facebook inbox this morning. Hi, I miss you and hope you are doing okay, and I'm truly sorry for hurting you in many ways. I know you have hurt so much and that hurts me a lot every day. You were my best friend for so long, and I guess I felt like I couldn't get past your family when everything happened. I felt like everyone was against me, so I just kept running. I feel a lot of guilt because I hurt you, so please forgive me. I'm sorry I ruined your plans and your life. I planned for forever too. I just got weak in the end and felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I saw your brother again the other day, and I know you will probably say terrible things about me, but I love him so much and do miss him. Yes, everything with Jim isn't going so perfect. Maybe she's actually realizing what she ran away from. Either way, odd. Update after some time. Near the middle of August, I started a new job. So far, it's been going well. I've sort of been back on the dating scene a little, but nothing serious has really come to fruition as of yet. I still go to the gym and do the things I've come to enjoy over time. What's been really great is I've been able to go to more baseball games this year. something I didn't get to do much over the years. I'll be at a game on Sunday with a good friend, who interestingly has Jim, the other man from the affair, as his supervisor at work. Overall, it's just going well. Obviously, life can change at a moment's notice, but I'm well equipped to handle the challenges thrown my way. Almost a year later, I am in a dating relationship right now. It's been going very well. She knows of my past and accepts that it is a part of what has helped shape me into the person I am today. It feels really nice to be around someone that respects me, and obviously to use some of the tools I have equipped myself with over the last 2 years in order to get the most out of the relationship as possible. For anyone reading this that has been thinking it seems hopeless, never give up. Whatever you do with your life, always do it with the goal of being the best person you can be. Sometimes, that will mean making sacrifices for others. Maybe you'll need to be that person that steps in and attempts to tell a friend that her affair is wrong. Whatever the case may be, all of that hurt you are feeling now will come back to make you stronger later, should you let it. For anyone nearing the end of a marriage, lacking any real sense of direction, stay patient. Don't make knee-jerk decisions because you feel like you must do something now in order to move on. Just work on yourself. Don't let society tell you how you're supposed to move on. Everyone has their own timeline, and that coupled with the fantastic tools provided by many on this forum, you're in good hands. In any case, that's all I wanted to say. I really hope this continues to be a story of hope for anyone that comes across it. My comment: I think the real good thing that came out of marriage is OP doesn't need to take care of his wife anymore. There are no strings attached, and let's keep it that way. Don't be the backup plan for your partner if they turn their back. Remember,